She's come up the ranks and she's now owning her own company. And we just want to also ensure that she can also grow from strength to strength in that regard. Let us welcome Siphokazi Nxele as she comes and speak on behalf of the sponsors.
Thank you, Mr. Nxele, for the warm introduction. I would like to start off by greeting our Honorable Minister. Can you hear me? I'm not, oh, perfect. I would like to start off by greeting our Honorable Minister. I think it's a little bit of extra pressure when you have to stand in front of the Honorable Minister to make a speech. I would like to greet everyone here today and would like to commend each delegate for taking time out of their busy schedules at the peak of the audits to be present here today and absorb the knowledge that is going to be shared throughout this conference. I would start off by giving everyone a background when I started assets management. So I started asset management a very long time ago, and I started as someone who had just recently gotten a job. So it was not necessarily that I wanted to do assets management, but I found myself within assets management, and I became very excited. And I was very interested and didn't anticipate that assets management would be something that I would find my passion in. But it also goes without saying that a lot of people tend to shy away from assets management within different spheres, whether it's the public or private environment. They tend to shy away from it. I'm not sure if it's intimidating, but I think understanding why they shy away from it. There's a lot of challenges that one is faced with within assets management. And sometimes when you're on the outside looking in and it's intimidating, nobody wants to go in there and have to deal with those challenges. But I think that it goes also without saying that each and every person within this room contributes to assets management. We're sitting here with laptops that have been issued to you by the relevant entities to enable you to be able to fulfill your duties in service delivery. The infrastructure assets that we have, our roads, our bridges, our community assets, those are part of the service delivery, which is part of the objectives of our local municipalities. And even myself, I'll admit that there have been times when I found myself in certain situations that were challenging, because often as an asset management practitioner, you do assist entities and you try to encourage them to do better in certain avenues, but there's only so much that you can do. So you're exposed to certain environments where you may feel as though it's a bit demotivating. But I want you guys to know that there is so much to learn and contribute as individuals within the asset management sphere. And then during my years in assets management, I think one of the gaps that I've noticed is the need for skills transfer as well as capacity training. I think that in the different entities that I've had the privilege to be in, you find that there's no one responsible for assets management within that specific entity, or you find that there's only one person that's responsible for assets management. And so you consider all of these things that we discuss and the requirements that are needed in terms of compliance. And you ask yourself, how is that entity supposed to meet its objectives when there's either no one or not enough people to be able to assist within the assets management sphere? So when I started Enterprise Asset Management Services, I did so because I wanted to give myself an opportunity to do things a bit differently within the assets management sphere. I noticed during my years consulting within assets management that one of the things we forget to do is we forget to teach others when we get to those different entities. We forget that we sometimes have to do what is called skills transfer. So often we sometimes want to gatekeep the information so that municipalities or other entities are constantly calling us back, and they place so much reliance on us as consultants because at the end of the day they have no choice but to call us back. So understanding that this is one of the gaps within assets management, one of our objectives at Enterprise Asset Management is to teach and capacitate individuals about proper asset management so that you are able to improve on your asset management practices. We often say that it takes a village to raise a child, and we forget that our democratic South Africa is only 28 years young. So I think we still need that village of yourselves and every other person that can contribute to assets management to come together and be able to assist in fulfilling the responsibilities we have to our communities. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank the organizers for the work that they have done in creating such a platform for us to come together as that village. And we as Enterprise Asset Management Services are very grateful to have had an opportunity to be part of this conference because it's a space where we can all meet and discuss the challenges which we are facing in the assets management space. We can share our ideas, we can share the challenges that we are having in our individual entities, and we can discuss how we can improve certain processes and also discuss how we can go about implementing those different processes so each and every person can go back to their entities and create that constant chain of information sharing. I'd also like to ask of each of the delegates here today to open their minds and challenge themselves not to leave this conference without learning something new. After learning that something new, I want us each to go back to our entities and teach another person about what you have learned here today. And in closing, I'd like to add that most of us are at the end of our financial year audits, and looking back, I believe that there are things that we could have done better, things that we could have done more accurately. And when I say this, I'm not just talking about our GROP standards and compliance. I'm talking about effective and efficient asset management controls. I hope that we have taken the audit as a learning curve and taken note of those things that we can improve and make a commitment that the 22-23 financial period, we will get a better outcome, and not just for compliance purposes so that we receive an unqualified audit opinion, but that for the benefits of the community at large, because I believe that our first and primary objectives as local municipalities is to provide a democratic and accountable government for local communities. Thank you.